Welcome to the Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. In this special bonus episode, I meet Clint Seukeran, the owner of Ganjika House, Brampton, Ontario's first legal cannabis dispensary, which opened its doors to the public on April 1st, 2019. Clint is a speaker at the RCC Retail Cannabis Forum coming up May 13th, and I ask him for 2 starts and 1 stop based on what he has learned and experienced over the past year of the COVID era and beyond. Clint, welcome to the Voice of Retail podcast. How are you doing this morning?
Hi, good morning, Michael. I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
Well, thanks for joining me. This is one in a series of bonus episodes looking at great cannabis retailers in a run-up to Retail Council of Canada's Retail Cannabis Forum, which I have the pleasure of emceeing and the pleasure of meeting you. So thanks for making time. Let's jump right in. Tell me about yourself and your background and all about your store.
Well, I'm actually a very passionate person when it comes to cannabis. My company is CGS Foods, and we operate as Ganjika House in Brampton, Ontario.
The Flower City, right? The Flower City.
There you go, Flower City. We try to be the best ambassadors for the flower that we can be.
Fantastic.
And we really adore cannabis consumers and try our best to cater to all of their needs. So it's really been a fantastic journey over the past 2 years. Learning about the cannabis space and really evolving and adapting and becoming a leader in the space. It's been a real privilege to be here.
I think you must have been one of in the first round, right? You were one of the original cannabis stores. If I don't guess incorrectly, is that about right? When did you open your doors?
Yes, that's correct. I was actually one of the original lottery winners, the original 25 lottery winners in January of 2019, and we opened our doors at 9 a.m. on April 1st, 2019. We were one of the very few of those original 25 to open our doors on time.
Well, and you're one of the original 25 to be a private owner, right? Many of those got moved along. And were you always interested? Like, did the lottery attract your interest? It sounds like you were interested in being a cannabis retailer long before that. Tell me a little bit about it. Were you ready? Was it something you were going to do anyway, and you just threw your hat in and the process was the process at the time, and you got both lucky and now you're a great operator. Is that a fair description?
Yes, well, that's fair. I always had interest in the cannabis space. Prior to cannabis, I was involved in food production, and prior to food production, I was actually going to study medicine. So I was always interested in health. And cannabis seemed to offer a very unique, sort of solution or remedy to that space. And I always wanted to get involved with it and learn a little bit more. And when the lottery came about, I just thought, I'll throw my name in the hat and see what happens. I certainly didn't expect to win, but I hoped to win. And it was just elation once I found out that I was allowed to participate. I was chosen to participate in the space, and I took that seriously. I really bought into what the government, the spirit of the legislation in terms of making cannabis safer for consumers. And I really applauded the efforts of the politicians who did that, and I bought into the whole idea of legalization and providing safe product to consumers.
Yeah, right on. Tell me about now I've been to your store. It's a great store. We were talking off mic. It's great people. Tell me, for the listeners though, tell us about the vibe of your store. Everyone approaches these things a little different, but if I was to walk in your store today, how would you describe it and your approach? You and I know different retailers take different approaches. Some are a little more clinical, let's say. Some have more technology. Some are more, just tell me what vibe you try to establish and what it's like to walk into your front door.
That's a fantastic question. I don't think my words will really do the vibe merit, but I'll try my best. Essentially, what we focus on is understanding the cannabis consumer. We want to make sure we create a safe, respectable, comfortable environment so the cannabis consumer can come in and explore, or really embark on a safe journey of discovery. So we create a space that is very soothing, very respectful, and focused on understanding how the cannabis consumer, what he looks for, what they look for, what are they trying to attain through their consumption of the product. So our vibe is one of always acceptance, respect, and positivity. We want to make sure that the cannabis consumers understand that we are one of them. I mean, one of the prerequisites for working in my store is that you must consume the product. you have to understand the product and have that passion, that fire that's ignited with knowledge. That sort of wholesome experience that you'd wanna have when you're making this sort of choice to consume this product recreationally or otherwise. We want to make sure that we're affirming to the cannabis consumer that we're there with them and we're there for them, and we understand their needs and we do our utmost to make sure that we meet those needs.
So you've been operating, you're a veteran, you've been operating as long as legal cannabis has been legal. So let's talk about lessons learned. The original question was from 2020, but you go back to 2019. So it's been quite a journey, right? From, I'll sell anything I can get my hands on because there's a shortage, to now there's a surplus. Tell me about your lessons learned. And I'm kind of trying to phrase this in kind of two starts and one stop kind of thing. But basically, what are the lessons you've learned as you've been operating for the past 2 years from a merchant's perspective, from a retailer's perspective? Okay, well, initially, at first we had no idea what the market would look like.
So there was a bunch of, we had no certainty in terms of what we were getting and how the consumer would respond. So there was a lot of learning to do, and we definitely did. So one of my biggest learnings actually was the broad spectrum of the cannabis consumer. Prior to legalization, there was a lot of stigma concerning, what a cannabis consumer looked like.
Right.
And when I started operating and we saw I had people from 19 years old all the way up to 98 years old.
Okay.
Now, that 98-year-old, it's a quite funny story. She walked in. I'm very hands-on. So I was actually at the store. I was checking IDs and chatting with customers. And the 98-year-old came in and I said, okay, it's fine. You can go on. And she was like, no, son, I want you to check my ID. So I did. And she was born in 1921.
Come on, that's fantastic.
And, and she came there to buy flour. So I was just really, really so astonished with the spectrum of the cannabis user. And secondly, my other really, poignant learning was the amount of passion people have for cannabis. The amount of, resentment that they held against, the government for making this plant illegal for that long. And everyone was just so elated, so happy to partake in legalization at that time. And, since 2019, things have evolved into now we have to be very agile, very adaptable in this industry. It's very dynamic. There's a lot of turbulence going on. We have to make sure we're choosing our partners, properly. There are a lot of choices out there. So one of the starts would be, start looking at the ecosystem, start identifying key partners that I think that each retailer would be well served, selecting proper LPs, proper, software partners, proper banking partners, marketing partners. I think that is critical in the space now as it being so turbulent. We really need to be able to identify those key players. And another start would be, start focusing on the job that needs to be done. Start understanding your consumer. How are you going to serve them? Each area is different. For example, in Brampton, we might sell a lot of flour, a lot of pre-rolls, whereas in other areas, they're selling a lot of capsules, they're selling a lot of oils. So really understanding your consumer and the consumer needs is critical to the success and sort of figuring out your competitive advantage because, everybody knows Ontario is becoming very, very saturated with stores. I mean, stores are opening, 200-300 meters apart. Sure. So differentiation is going to be key. And one of the most important starts, I would say, would be start identifying your competitive advantages, the manners in which you can really differentiate yourself from your peers and outperform them. And really drill down on that differentiation because that's what's going to help us. We're all selling the same product. How are we going to differentiate? So, focusing on your key competitive advantages. What are your skills that you bring to the table that others can't? And one, stop. I would say stop focusing on the rewards. Stop focusing on, oh, I'm going to make $1 million. I'm going to make $10 million. I'm going to make $20 million. Stop focusing on that reward and focus more on the work that needs to be done. The rewards will come. The rewards definitely will come if the work is done correctly. And I believe that's a very important message to get across, because I see a lot of guys just trying to open up stores and oh, I'm going to make millions here. Well, if you do the wrong thing, you're probably going to lose millions. So, let's focus on the work that has to be done rather than trying to figure out how much we can make.
Well, that was fantastic. I mean, you bring up so many great points. I mean, it is the case that in Ontario, as in many other provinces, you now, welcome to retail kind of thing. As I said to one cannabis retailer, you've got competition and you've got to convince someone probably, if not today, then tomorrow, to pass by two other cannabis retailers to come to you. You can't count on just, exclusivity as it was in the early days or great geography. And so you're spot on, thinking through, what's your competitive advantage, even at the product level. Do you see getting to a place where you describe, different consumers at one different product, different store, flower or whatever. Do you get to a point, do you think, where you actually start selecting different brands and different potencies even, or different mixes that helps you differentiate?
Oh, absolutely. Your product mix will be a key differentiator. You have to know what to buy in order to serve the customers in your area, in your geography. So that is critical. That's why I mentioned selecting the correct LPs, the correct the guys who are aligned with your customers' needs and aligned with your mission as well. I mean, we have a broad spectrum of choices for LPs and for suppliers out there. Obviously, we have one distributor, the OCS. Right. But we are able to select the products that align with what we're trying to achieve. And I think that's critical as well. And it is a key differentiator, not just, differentiating on service. We can also differentiate with product by our product variety and product selection.
Right on. All right. So you're going to be on the virtual stage, so to speak, coming up, Retail Council Canada's Retail Cannabis Forum. What are you going to be talking about there?
Well, again, I think I'm going to be speaking about the importance of making the right choices for software, for banking, ensuring that retailers understand there are a lot of choices, there are a lot of options out there, but making the right choices, educated choices based on the success of stores like mine. I made some wrong choices in the beginning and paid heavily for those. But from my learnings, I hope to help other retailers, prevent them from making those sort of mistakes and get them onto the right path, in understanding the Canadian the Canadian retail cannabis ecosystem, and sort of imparting some of my learnings and some of my recommendations for them going forward. For us to all, really create something that we can be proud of, create something that Ontario can really benefit from, and start normalizing cannabis and fight this stigma.
Well, fantastic. And you're on the stage with Albert Kim, who I actually just interviewed as well. Such a great entrepreneur himself, serving the market with Greenline POS. So that, everyone will look forward to that. Thank you so much first of all, for joining us at the forum to share those kind of insights. I mean, they're so valuable, and you've got such great experience. So thank you for sharing, and thank you for joining me in this bonus episode. I wish you continued success, and we'll be watching and visiting. I look forward to visiting the store again when it's open, but that too shall pass very quickly. So congratulations, and thanks again for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me, Michael, and I hope you keep safe.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of The Voice of Retail. Be sure and follow the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you enjoy podcasts, so you don't miss out on the latest episodes, industry news, and insights. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a rating review, as it really helps us grow so that we continue to get amazing guests onto the show. If you are a retail cannabis retailer or industry professional, you don't want to miss the RCC Retail Cannabis Forum that I have the pleasure of hosting May 13th. Learn more and register at www.retailcouncil.org/events. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of LeBlanc Company Inc. And if you're looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at meleblanc.co. Until next time, stay safe, have a great week.